Welcome to the introduction of the Colourful Semantics Baseline Assessment. My name is May Henderson and I'm a UK trained speech and language therapist. The Colourful Semantics Assessment is brought to you by Integrated Treatment Services, and here are their contact details. If you have any questions around the Colourful Semantics approach, around what training or resources are available to you, please reach out and somebody will get back to you. Today we're going to have a very brief revisit to the Colourful Semantics approach. Then we're going to focus on the overview of the baseline assessment with some practical implementation considerations and some useful links too. So here we are. If you haven't attended any Colourful Semantics training courses, I do recommend you reach out to Integrated Treatment Services to see what's available. We have whole day online introductory courses to the approach and some follow-up video courses too. They focus more on the implementation of Colourful Semantics as well as some more practice of different examples. So if you have attended the training, you'll know that the focus of the building of a sentence for using the Colourful Semantics approach is around the verb, the doing word. That's the important part in the sentence. And then we build the other elements around that. So we have our orange who element. We link it to the what, the where, the when, the who to, the how, what, like, whose, and then focusing as well on some specific verbs such as is. And you can see here that each element of the sentence is colour-coded a different colour to highlight that and make that explicit for the children. So they can build those sentences and translate that into their everyday conversations. But where do we start? We often have this. We find children, we know that there's something with their language that's not quite developmentally appropriate, but we don't know where to start. This is an example of a language sample I've taken from a 7-year-old child recently. Just noting down different things he said in the classroom in different activities. And that's a good idea. That gives you lots of information around where their language is. But it doesn't really tell you what we do next. Where do we start with supporting them? So that's what the Colourful Semantics Baseline Assessment is for. We've identified the child that needs a little bit of more support with their language. We've maybe taken a language sample, so we've got some example sentences that they're using. But we want a little bit more structure to that and a little bit more guidance around how to build their language. So we can use this assessment with them. Now, the aim of the baseline assessment is to give you a starting point for intervention. It is an informal assessment. You're gaining information around that sentence structure. It also allows you to monitor progress, so you can administer the assessment, provide some intervention, and then reassess later on to see where that progress is. We would recommend that you don't reassess within 6 months. What we don't want to do is the child to remember the pictures and to learn those phrases for those pictures. So we do our intervention using different resources, and then we'll monitor 6 months or later. And that links into the fact that this is not a teaching tool. If we're using this as an assessment, when we're providing our interventions, we'll use different stimulus pictures, different resources, and then we can use this assessment to see if that language has been generalised. The information in this assessment will help us to choose what sentence types to focus on. So again, if you've attended the training, you'll know there's the sentences, the who doing what, the who doing where, who doing what where, using the cloud words. So there's lots of different sentence types. This assessment will tell you which one we need to start working on. And then following on from that, you can introduce the sentence types with authentic vocabulary and within context of that child's life. That's going to help the child to generalise the language skills to many different contexts. Who's it for? It's for children who are talking, but they're struggling to put words together or to make sentences. So they might have lots of single words, but they're not combining them. They might be combining 1 or 2 words, but that's kind of where they've got stuck, and we need to support them to build up longer sentences using 3 or 4 sentence parts. Might be for those children who have limited language functions, so maybe they're only requesting, but there's no commenting, there's no describing, so we can build those functions in as well. Some children have limited vocabulary, so they might be using lots and lots of nouns, but not many verbs. Colourful Semantics is a good approach for that. So we can use this assessment to figure out what type of words they're using. Or are they using some verbs, but they tend to be the same general verbs each time? This assessment will give us that information. Some children have writing difficulties. Using the Colourful Semantic approach really helps to keep that sentence in their mind and then transfer it down to the written page. Many children are missing those function words. They might be missing is, the, We can use Colourful Semantics to support that. And if it's an incorrect use of word order, so the words are in a different order, this assessment will help us identify what's going on and what types of sentences their child is already using. So what do you need? Once you purchase the baseline assessment, you will have the picture stimuli, the scoring form, and an additional prompting sheet. There's also the instructions and the guide, which if you read through, that'll give you all the information that you need to know. But when we're delivering it to the child, these are the things that we need in place. So how do we do it? I'm going to show you how to do this online. So you'll see that in the video, but I'll just talk through a few points here. We show one picture at a time, starting with picture 1, and we work our way through. We record the child's response on the scoring form, and then we start to score the child. I won't go into the details of how that's scored here, because I'll show you that later on. But we can give prompts. So if a child is not giving us much information, we can give prompts to extend that sentence out. But also, if a child is giving you a full sentence, we can then use the additional prompting sheets to gain more information. So can they use some adjectives, some possessives, some answering why questions. So I'll show you what that all looks like in the video now. Here is a short demonstration of the Colourful Semantics baseline assessment. On one side of the screen, you can see the stimulus pictures. Here we can see a boy who's eating something. On the other side of the screen, you can see our editable baseline assessment scoring form. I'm going to go through a few examples and talk through the scoring and the resources as we go. So I've started to complete this form for student A. We looked at this picture. The student said, the boy is eating. We moved to our next picture, and the child said, Daddy, car. We move to our next picture. So here, I'm going to ask the child, what do you see? And the child might say, a girl. I'll write that in. Tell me more about the girl. Girl, hair. They might say, girl, brushing her hair. Write down what the student said. As you heard there, I did give a little prompt. If they only gave me one word, I asked them to tell me more. I might ask them to tell me what they're doing. I might give them a choice of two. So I might say, is the girl brushing her hair? Or is the girl eating her hair? And then they'll might give me the response, brushing. So then I'll model the whole sentence back to them. Yes, the girl is brushing her hair. Can you tell me that? And then encourage them to say as long a sentence as they can. So here now we've got 3 example sentences. So I'm just going to look at how we would score that. In the manual for the assessment, there is another document, which I'll show you here. This is a different recording form, so you can record straight onto this form using pen and paper and put your scores in at the end. Or you can use the editable PDF version and put the scores in there too. But I just want to draw your attention to what it says here. So when we're scoring, we're not scoring the number of words that a student says. What we're scoring is the number or the type of elements that have been achieved. So if you think back to your Colourful Semantics training, and we're working on the who, the doing, the what, the where, they're all the different elements. So that's what we're scoring. So I'll go back to the form that I've begun to fill in, and we'll have a look at scoring here. So we said the boy is eating. That's a sentence with 4 words. But here I've highlighted the different elements of the sentence that they've been able to give me. They've been able to identify that it was a boy, so they've identified the who. Then they've identified the doing. So there they've given me 2 parts. So you can see here I've scored this 2. That's the same for the next one. They've given me a who, they've given me daddy, and they've given me a what, a car. So again, I scored that 2. So even though there's 4 words in the first sentence and there's 2 words in the second sentence, they've both got the score 2 because they're giving me 2 elements of this sentence. So let's have a look at scoring a girl brushing her hair. There's 5 words in that sentence, a girl brushing her hair. Let's have a think about the elements of the sentence that she's using. She's told me it's a girl, so we can highlight that. She's told me brushing, and she's told me hair. So here I've highlighted 3 areas. She's given me 3 parts of that sentence. So we're going to score that sentence 3. If we go back to the stimulus pictures, I'll have a quick flick through. You've got different pictures for the different sentence types. So here we've got places. So we've got a who doing where. The girl is jumping on the bed. The girl is knocking on the door. Now we're extending out. The boy is pouring milk in the cup. So we've still got our where. Here we're introducing who to. The boy is giving the book to the teacher. The boy is giving the present to daddy. So we've introduced that pink part now, that who to. And here we're now bringing in those cloud words and we're using them for emotions. So here we can say the girl is happy. The boy is excited. The boy is scared. And you'll see the scoring form follows accordingly. If you scroll through, we have our who doing where, who doing what where, who doing what who to, and our who with our cloud words. Once you've completed the assessment, you're then able to go back and analyse using the scoring that you've done, but also using some qualitative data to look at the types of sentences that the child's having difficulty with. So if you find that a child is doing really well with their who doing what, but they're struggling a little bit with that who doing where, that's where you can target your resources and target your activities. In the baseline guide and instructions, there's also an additional prompting question section. So if your child's working really well, giving you 3 or 4 part sentences, but you want to know if they can use any cloud words, those adjectives, or the possessive star words, or maybe answer the question why, you can use this form here to build that in and to use those prompting questions to see what they can give you. So for example, they might give you, the boy is eating a biscuit. It's a great sentence. They've got the 3 parts, but we want to know if they can use any cloud words. So we could say, what was the biscuit like? Or the prompt here, is he eating a yellow biscuit? And then that will prompt them to say, the boy is eating a chocolate biscuit. Why is he eating a biscuit? Maybe he's eating the biscuit because he is hungry. So we can use those prompts to gain more insight into the types of sentences that the students use. So I'm presenting this here to you today on my laptop screen with my split screen. There are different ways you can do this when you're working with the students, depending on the technology you have available. So that, as I said, the PDF editable form is there to be used directly on a device. You can also present the pictures visually too. So you can present the visuals stimulus on an iPad. might bring a little bit more engagement for the students if they can see it there on the iPad. And then you can type in on your laptop the responses. If you don't have that technology available to you, you can print out the response form. So you can write it using just pen and paper, still presenting the pictures there electronically to the students to fill the whole screen. So the examples there you've seen in the video are using the picture stimulus. Some children, however, do respond better to objects than pictures. This tends to be your younger children. So we can introduce the same concept, the same assessment, but using toys. In the instruction manual, you'll find where the materials are suggested. However, this is just a suggestion. You might not have all of those things available. So if, the sentence type is the focus. So is it a who doing what or a who doing where? They're the type of toys you will need for that sentence. And you can use the same scoring sheet. For these types of sentences using the toys, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to elicit the complex sentences around the feelings, but you can try and see where you get to recording all of the child's responses. So what next? You've assessed and you've scored, and you have that information. What do you do now? The first goal then is to identify the sentence type to target first. So have a look through, see where the child is making their most errors. Is the child using the who doing what sentences? If they're finding that difficult, then that's where you start. But maybe they can do that. Maybe they can do the who doing where. But they were really struggling with the who doing what where. That's where you then target your intervention. So the information you've gained from the assessment gives you that qualitative data to find out where the child is at already. And then you're going to implement activities to support this sentence type. When you feel your child is ready, you can move on to a new sentence type, the next one in the assessment. And you can reassess, as I said before, with a minimum of 6 months between the assessments. This will give you that information to see if the progress is generalised, and if it has, where can you target next? So you've got your assessment data, you've decided which sentence type you'd like to use, but how do you do that? What do I need? Where do you start? The Integrated Treatment Services website, with the link here, has lots of different resources for you. So there is the Colourful Semantics Lesson Plans pack, and this supports children from nursery age all the way through to Key Stage 2 with their speaking, reading and writing. So there's several lesson plans, and within that there's the resources and the links to the curriculum and the objectives. It does include the symbols too. You can also purchase the primary school or the secondary or the preschool Colourful Semantics resources. These all include different work packs of symbols for different curriculum areas. It could be focused on a book, such as the Gruffalo or Dear Zoo. It could be focused on an event in the calendar, Christmas, Diwali, or it could be more curriculum-based topics. There's also support for home and school. And this is what it might look like. This is an example from the secondary resource pack, and this was the Henry VIII resource pack. So you can see here, the symbols have already been made for you. We've got our orange who words, our yellow doing words, green what, blue where, our cloud words, and we've also got some brown when words. So for the different topic areas, you will receive a pack of symbols, and they can be used to support your children in lots of different activities. They're flexible enough to be adapted to lots of different activities, whether that's speaking or writing or presenting. They can be used in lots of different ways. Implementation can look different. You might be working one-to-one with a student. You might be working in small groups. You can. There's lots and lots of different ways to introduce colourful semantics, using the pictures to build sentences, basing it on using books as a kind of a stimulus, using lots of movement in your activities, using planners. Integrated Treatment Services does provide lots of different training on ways that colourful semantics can be implemented in the classroom and in different groups. You'll find in the resource packs there's also symbols and activities that can be done at home. So your daily routines around breakfast, around going to the shops, getting dressed, having a shower, all of that information is in the resource packs too. Colourful semantics is a really good approach to be using if you're delivering teletherapy or learning online. It translates really well to the screen, using your board maker symbols to move around. So you can use the physical resources in the classroom, but if you are delivering learning online, it can be easily adapted to those types of activities too. So that's everything to talk about our assessment today. If you have any more questions, here are our contact details again. Feel free to reach out. Questions around the assessment, around resources, or around the training. Thank you very much, and I hope you find the assessment useful to support your children.